leads us to believe that the FBI was not looking for a specific person or persons, but was involved in a type of surveillance and mapping of this particular area of the community, and it's troubling.
Well, that's the charge from some in Dearborn who say the feds are profiling their community because many of them are Muslim. On the panel right now, he has proudly served in the U.S. Navy. Serves as a voice for religious fairness. Dawud Walid is Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Next to him, a fellow Muslim, an expert on the Middle East, and the publisher of the Arab American News, Osama Sabani is back. And there's a legal expert who's done it all. He's a former judge, the former U.S. attorney for this region, sometimes a criminal defense attorney too. Jeffrey Collins is with us tonight. As is another man who wears many hats, retired Brigadier General Michael McDaniel is a lawyer, professor, and expert on homeland security and counterterrorism. And no need to watch Charlie because he always shows up somehow, somewhere. All right, the AP has uncovered 100 flights in 11 states over a 30-day period connected to this FBI surveillance. What makes you think, Dawud, that they were somehow spying on Dearborn?
Well, my initial statement to when this story broke was that if the FBI is in fact tracking a legitimate person or persons relating to drug activity, gang activity, or violent extremism, that's fine. However, as a civil libertarian, I have to be suspicious based upon the FBI's history of monitoring and surveillance historically, and not only historically, even in recent years through ACLU FOIA litigation, we know that the FBI was religiously and racially mapping Muslims in Dearborn. So am I saying 100% that they were actually involved in widespread surveillance? Absolutely not. But regarding this flight, but do I also know they've been involved in racial, religious mapping and profiling of Muslims? Absolutely.
Well, Osama, that is why you had a special meeting last night, meeting with Congressman Debbie Dingell and some high-ranking members of the FBI and the feds.
Actually, the special agent in charge.
What did he tell you, and why do you believe him?
Well, I believe him. He told us, that there is no surveillance over any communities, including the Arab and the Muslim communities in Dearborn. It is a nationwide lawful action that has been carried out in so many states, what they have done. I believe him because I truly believe that he has been working very, very hard to reach out to the community to redraw the image of the FBI in the minds of so many people that they are not really a bad agency. They're an agency to protect people, not to harass them. I wanted to believe him, but I always remember what Ronald Reagan said: trust but verify. So I'm willing to trust. And secondly, and most importantly, there is nothing going on in Dearborn to surveil. We are a community that's living, that's working hard, and that's serving people falafel, hummus, and you can come and have hookah and have a good time. So there is nothing going on in Dearborn, so I truly believe there is nothing to surveil in the first place.
Former U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Collins.
But that doesn't mean that it's okay to mass surveil or to violate our rights and discriminate.
And we don't know what's going on, and that's why I turn to the former U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Collins here, because it is your obligation to both protect the public and to also ferret out possible threats. But how far should you go? How far can you go to do that?
Well, I think if used properly, it can be an effective law enforcement tool, provided you strike the right balance between protecting interests of privacy, along with allowing law enforcement to effectively protect the community. Provided there is a credible threat, provided there is a reasonable basis that there is an active, ongoing investigation, then it can be an effective tool for law enforcement, but it cannot go too far. People do have privacy rights, privacy interests, which are just not forfeited, through an eye in the sky. And I would also like to echo, I think there has been a history of trust built in this district. I was very proud when I served as U.S. Attorney when we established Bridges. That's correct. Which was the foundation of a police-community partnership.
Well, meanwhile,
and Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Paul Abadi, said it very clearly. There is no credible threat. If there is no credible threat, if this community is not doing anything, so why do you surveil the community?
If there's no credible threat, then why fly over that area for so many nights consecutively?
Let me hear from the general, because when you look at the map of the plane, it does go over Dearborn and circles Dearborn several times.
That's fine.
Part of Dearborn.
Left. The lower part of Dearborn. Actually, the surveillance area, it has none of the Arab community.
Okay, Gentleman Dan.
It's a law enforcement tool. They have been using it for years and years. Airborne surveillance is no different from surveillance from a vehicle. An unmarked airplane or an unmarked van, as long as they have reasonable suspicion to be tracking an individual, that's fine. If you say that they are tracking or mapping or profiling a group based upon their religious or ethnic background, absolutely there's a problem. But if they're focusing on an individual, that's a great law enforcement tool. I may have a concern if it turns out there are different types of software, sensors, different technology in that airplane that cross the line.
But they are not collecting, according to the FBI in charge, any bulk data, simply flying over the area. Meanwhile, we don't like to use the term profiling, be it racial or religious. However, the feds are allowed to use those factors while investigating potential crimes.
And we want the cops to go out and try to look for the bad guys. Who doesn't want that? And we would be criticized. Their cops would be criticized if they don't do that. I want the fact. And you know what? The FBI is going to take a couple circles around Dearborn. They're going to look around. They're going to see Dawud. They're going to see everything. They not do anything. They're going to get out of there and go to another state where there is some criminal activity. Let's let the cops do their job. They're not profiling people that are good citizens. And when you get into the nitty-gritty about can they get into the house, those are real issues. Taking those planes, taking a look at what's going on, targeting someone that they believe is a criminal, let the cops do their jobs.
If they're looking for individuals, that's fine. But if they are involved in racial mapping and religious mapping, it's a problem. And what makes America supposed to be different from totalitarian regimes like China or North Korea is that we have privacy rights. Privacy is not only a right, it's an American value. And if we're willing to give that up because of people's religion or national origin, it's not just going to affect Arabs or Muslims like Osama and myself. It's going to creep over and affect all Americans in a negative way.
But here is what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with them going after people, bad people. They should be. This is their job. But here is the problem that we're having as a community. Not flying over, chasing a criminal somewhere. At the border crossing, at the airport, people are being harassed to death. Innocent people, good business people, they're taking their phones for weeks. They're taking their computers for weeks to copy it. They take them with them. Go the Border Patrol Protection Agency, taking the laptop for 1 week or 2 weeks, or the phone for 1 week or 2 weeks to copy it. And these are business people. They have no criminal background. This is where really the profiling that is not actually
First, let's think about the FBI's role here. Ever since 2001, there's been a change in the social norm. It's not just our social norm on privacy and our expectation of privacy in private places. There's also now this expectation that the federal government, law enforcement, mainly the FBI, is going to keep us safe. So they have now got this huge responsibility, and they fail anytime there's a Garland, Texas shooting. That's a failure to them. So if you look at the fact, May of 2015, ISIS said we've got operatives in 17 states. They named 5. One of them's Michigan. Who does that fall on? It falls on the local FBI. They've got responsibility for it. That ratchets up their responsibility, and there's a norm there that they expect us to protect them.
Let me just say that ultimately that the law enforcement going to have to proceed based on objective facts.
Absolutely.
And they cannot base an investigation on someone's race, religion, or ethnic background, because ultimately that would be an abuse of discretion.
All right, we're going to discuss this, of course, much more after the break, but right now, Charlie is going to take the show on the road to ask you an important question about what's in the skies above. Stay with us.